and the Milani Liquify. Liquid Eye? Liquid Eye? Hello everyone, welcome back. Today I'm doing a heavily requested video. This is an everyday drugstore makeup tutorial. I do read all your comments, thank you to those who leave requests. I have been devouring drugstores for months. It's been a very expensive experiment. I have a great selection of products that I really like and I would like to show you. Let's start with foundations. Drugstores have really upped their game on the foundation front. For a matte option, I really like the L'Oreal True Match. This has a great medium buildable coverage. It's quite silicone heavy, so it functions as a primer in the sense that it fills in the pores and really evens out the texture of the skin. This also has a really good shade range. I think it's about 20 shades. I also really like the dewy version, the L'Oreal True Match Lumi, and for a satin finish, I really like the Bourjois Healthy Mix. This also has a medium coverage and it's quite silicone laden. Are you sensing a trend here? I'm going to be using this one today. I'm also going to mix in a pump of the L'Oreal Lumi Magique base. I purchased this because it seemed to be a similar concept to my beloved Chanel Le Blanc de Chanel. I won't say that it's a dupe, but it functions in a very similar way. Lots of luminosity without any greasiness or shimmer. And shade 52 in the Bourjois Healthy Mix also has a bit of a green cast, so it's great for those of us who are a little bit olive. Okay, I'm not going to set that for the moment, I'm just going to let it settle into the skin. Onto the brows. I'm actually going to be using this cool tone brown eyeshadow from the Sleek palette because I'm really fussy with brows and I haven't found a dedicated brow product from the drugstore that I really like. So if you know of a really ashy brow pencil or an ashy brow powder from the drugstore, then do let me know in the comments, I'm really curious. And you'll have to excuse the state of my brows right now. I grow out my eyebrows every few months because apparently I just like torture. I actually tried this Milani brow pen in the hope that it would be somewhat comparable to my Suki brow pen, but so much fail. It's like a really warm Sharpie with a fat nib. I don't know, do not want. And I guess the great thing about brow powder that you don't get from brow pens is if you go a little bit too far, you can always just take a spoolie and brush it out to soften. Okay, for eyeshadows, so many eyeshadow options. I really like the Wet n Wild eyeshadow palettes. These are really pigmented and they're quite complex in color. I also like some of the shades in this NYX palette, particularly this awesome reddened shade. The textures of these are a little bit drier. It comes down to personal preference. Sleek. Love Sleek palettes. I own a lot. The issue that I had with drugstore eyeshadow is the lack of mattes. I can't do walls of shimmer. It makes my eyes look puffier than they already are. I need mattes to contour and this is where Sleek really excels. They have a great selection of vibrance, neutrals, shimmers, mattes, everything you could possibly need. They do tend to be a little bit powdery in formula, but with the right application, it's totally workable. I'm going to use the Sleek Storm palette, which is a good everyday neutral palette. It's the same palette I used on my brows. This time I'm going to take this mid-tone camel shade, and I'm just kind of fluffing that all over the lid and into the crease quite roughly. I'm just adding a little bit of depth to the eye and the crease area. I'm actually going to take a little bit of paper towel and just place that under my eyes while I blend. As I said, the Sleek palettes just are a little bit powdery and this will catch the fallout. I also prefer paper towel to cotton because it doesn't lint all over your face. Next I'm going to take that slightly darker brown and just etch that through my crease for a bit of extra depth. I'm also pushing that on the outer third of my lid. Okay, next step is totally optional, but I'm just going to take a little bit of that black eyeshadow and push that on the outer corner where my lid and my crease meet. Again, this is just to address the puffiness of my eyes. Okay, for the lower lash line, I think I'm going to take this gorgeous shimmery brown. If you find that your lower lash line is puffy or elevated, then you may opt to use a more matte shade here, as that will recede the area. These smudge brushes are really great for the lower lash line. They're my favorite tool for the lower lash line because once you've applied your product, you can turn the brush on its side and blend it out. And finally for the eyeshadow, I'm going to take this rose gold shade and I'm just going to use my finger to pat that over the inner half of the lid and also the tear duct. Okay, for eyeliner, it's a toss-up between the Rimmel Scandaleyes and the Milani Liquid Eye. I think that the Milani wins by a little bit because I think the texture is a bit softer and doesn't scratch my waterline, and it also wears a little longer. And I'm just going to tight line with that. I do find that this pencil migrates a little to the lower lash line throughout the day, but the only eyeliner pencil that I found that doesn't do that is the Rouge Bunny Rouge Long Lasting Eye Pencil, so I'm not terribly concerned. Concealer-wise, I found that a lot of drugstore under-eye concealers are very light reflective. Two good examples, the Maybelline Dream Lumi and the Maybelline Age Rewind. I love these for facial highlighting because the texture is really thin and it doesn't sort of cake up or get heavy on the skin. If I use them too liberally under the eyes, I do get a bit of that reverse panda effect. So I'm going to be using the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer today, which has a little bit more coverage and it's not quite so light reflective. The coverage of this one is actually pretty decent. I'd say it's a medium coverage. And I find that it wears quite nicely throughout the day. It doesn't settle or crack. I think I need to readdress this shade though, because I think it might be a touch too yellow for under my eyes. I also find that the Maybelline Fit Me Concealer is great for facial concealing. So I'm going to put a little bit on my nose because I am so flushed today, it is ridiculous. Does this happen to anyone else? I'm not particularly warm, I'm just very rosy. Okay, that's as good as it's gonna get. Let's all ignore the fact that I'm beetroot red right now and let's move on to mascaras. Probably the easiest place to transition to drugstore. There are so many great mascaras out there. I really like the Maybelline Full and Soft. That's just a classic for an everyday flattery lash. I also really like the CoverGirl Clump Crusher for separation. And for volume, I actually really like the Jordana Best Lash Extreme. Kudos to Lauren Curtis for this recommendation. I see people having very polar opinions on this one. It's a very extreme lash. It loads the hair right to the tip, and that loaded look is not for everyone, but on occasion, I quite like it. And if it starts to look a little bit too loaded for my liking, I just take a clean spoolie and comb out the tips. Okay, so now my face has returned to normal human coloring. Let's talk about blush. Guys. Oh my god, Milani Luminoso. I know. Everyone talks about this one with good reason. I think this might be my favorite blush of all time. High-end drugstore across the board. It's somewhere between a blush and a highlighter, but I am so fussy about shimmer on the face and Luminoso nails it. Sometimes shimmer can pick up on the pores and the peach fuzz and texture on the skin, not this. The shimmer is so refined that it registers as more of a sheen than anything else. I actually have a Tom Ford blush in a similar color family to Luminoso. This is Love Lust. And I think that the shimmer in Luminoso is more refined and more elegant than that of Love Lust. It's one of those products that really lives up to the hype, and I will stop now, okay? I love you. And now for lips, this is my personal favorite category. I have so many loves. Maybelline Vivids. Oh, amazing neon shades and really hydrating formulas. I also really like the NYX matte lip creams. They come in a ton of shades and the paler shades do pick up on texture, FYI if you have chapped lips like myself, but otherwise a really amazing formula. And for my Australians, Australia, Sportsgirl lipsticks, friggin' fantastic matte formulation, great selection of shades, and they're like 10 bucks. Just do it. This one here is my favorite because coral, and it's called Fruit Tingle. Just look at that vibrancy. Isn't that such a great coral? And this was meant to be an everyday makeup tutorial. Okay, let me just blot that. And before I finish, I just feel the great urge to put some of this Luminoso on my eyes and all over my body, but I'm gonna stick to the eyes here. Just adding it to the inner half to mirror that sort of coral tone. Oh yeah. And that is my everyday drugstore face. I had too much fun filming this. If you enjoyed it and you would like to see a more dramatic evening tutorial using drugstore products, then let me know by giving this video a thumbs up and tell me in the comment section below. I can absolutely do that. I hope you guys all have a wonderful day and I will see you very soon. Bye bye.